I'd like to apologize for the short break I took from YouTube a few weeks ago, but I became ill and wasn't able to finish the episode 12 review until last week. Luckily though, Supercharge also didn't air episode 13 until last week, so I didn't actually fall behind.
Review's still gonna be late, dude.
Shut up! So without any further delay, let's go ahead and talk about episode 13, Recipe for Disaster. The episode opens with Keeper telling the Rangers about the Dark Energem, saying it was buried deep within a planet called Sentai 6, I'm dead serious here, but that an evil warlord destroyed the planet, taking the gem with him. Keeper says that since the Dark Energem has resurfaced, the Silver Ranger will need all the help he can get, Kendall adding that they can't do much more than send Silver their Zord information until they find his location. Meanwhile, on the ship, Wrench is showing Heckle a monster he made called Fortress, which has studied the Rangers' Megazord moves and is strong enough to block them.
No one can stand up to Fortress! Not even me!
Impressive. Except that you won't be there to call out the moves during the battle.
No, but you will! Once he's magna beamed into a giant, you'll have a cockpit inside him! Just like the Rangers' Megazords!
My own monster Megazord. I like it.
Me too, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to... What the heck?
Is the pavlova done yet? Catherine Allister, the food critic, just ordered a slice!
Wait, so that woman's a food critic? You guys are trying to impress a food critic who could shut down the cafe, which is attached to a museum that people already pay money for, with or without that cafe. What? Apparently the dessert she ordered is a New Zealand dish that Chase struggles to bake because it keeps exploding, which begs the question as to why it's on the menu to begin with, since Chase can't even make the thing, but Chase says he followed the recipe exactly and that this pavlova shouldn't explode. However, the thing does explode all over the food critic and the Rangers, who are all standing around the dessert for some reason, resulting in the critic saying that the cafe will get her worst review ever before storming out. The Rangers then decide to go into the lab and use Kendall's equipment to perfect the pavlova recipe. That's right, an evil energem with untold power threatens all of existence, and our heroes are baking. No, this is totally what you guys should be doing right now, rather than searching for the Silver Ranger. But, uh-oh, Chase accidentally baked his energem into the last pavlova, meaning that it was flung into the food critic's bag, and now he has to find her to get it back. What a wacky turn of events. While that pointlessness is going on, Singe returns to Earth, bringing his boss Lord Arcanon and his other general Duelwing. The trio is met by Heckle, Wrench, Fury, and Fortress, with Lord Arcanon introducing himself, saying that he hired Sledge long ago to capture an army for him, meaning that all the monsters, including Heckle and Snide, belong to him. Heckle doesn't take this news well and tries to attack Arcanon, but the Lord easily overpowers him before Heckle turns into Snide. Rather than teleporting away, Snide decides to go big or go home, causing Fortress to grow and jumping into the cockpit so he can attack the three villains below. In order to combat Fortress, Lord Arcanon orders Duelwing to call on the Rangers' Zords with Dino Chargers he made, which catches the attention of the Rangers in the lab, who see that the T-Rex, Plesio, and Pachazords have been called out. The trio of new villains then form the Pacharex formation of the Plesio Charge Megazord, which they pilot themselves, but Fortress is no joke as he easily breaks the Megazord apart. Duelwing calls in 6 more Zords to battle Fortress, while Chase is doing this.
Ma'am, when I made the pavlova, I think something really important of mine fell into the mixture. I think it may be in your bag. Can we please check?
Fine, if it'll get rid of you, be my guest.
Thank you. My energem!
Happy now?
Look out! Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay, you need to get somewhere safe.
Wait, I want to help you.
Oh my gosh, I don't care. Just get back to the fighting already. The critic tells Chase that rather than follow the recipe, you know, like cooking's done, he should mix things up before going to safety. Back in the fight, Arcanon and Singe form the Tristego formation of the Dino Charge Megazord, as well as the Pararaptor formation of the Terra Charge Megazord, but both are still no match for Fortress's power. The Rangers can do nothing but watch as their Zords are beaten down, since they can't even take control of their Zords with their own Dino Chargers, or at least not until Singe, Duelwing, and Arcanon are knocked out of the Zords by Fortress. Duelwing suggests calling on the Titanozord, but Arcanon says the Chargers are useless, but that he has a new plan before the trio retreats. The Rangers see the villains retreat, as well as one of the replica Dino Chargers, before taking back their Zords to continue the fight against Fortress. However, the Rangers don't fare much better, as Fortress is able to block the Megazord's moves, so Chase takes the food critic's advice, telling the others they should mix things up with an entirely new Zord combination. Kendall says that she's been working on a new combination, but that she needs time to finish it, so the Rangers call on the Titano Charge Megazord Megazord to hold off Fortress. Luckily, it doesn't take long to finish the combination as Kendall arrives on the scene, telling the Rangers to form the new Dino Charge Ultrazord. Snide slightly panics at the sight of the new Megazord before he unexpectedly turns back into Heckle, who chooses to keep fighting despite Snide's protest. However, the Ultrazord is just what the Rangers need to take down Fortress, and after the fight, Arcanon and his minions reappear to capture a weakened Heckle. Back at the lab, the Rangers show Kendall and Keeper the replica Dino Chargers, and after brainstorming, the Rangers come to the conclusion that the Silver Ranger was captured by Arcanon and that they need to rescue him. But we're not done with the Rangers just yet, as we cut to the food critic returning to give the cafe another chance, and this time Chase is able to make a non-exploding pavlova based on his grandmother's recipe, which results in the cafe not being shut down and blah blah blah. Next scene. We then see Heckle once again locked in solitary confinement on the ship, though Singe says they should destroy Heckle since he's nothing more than a headache. Lord Arcanon refuses, saying that Heckle will behave as long as the Lord has the Dark Energem, and the episode ends with our new villain stating that none of the Rangers will survive. This episode is very conflicting for me. On the one hand, 70% of this episode is one of the best things I've ever seen from Power Rangers, while on the other hand, 30% of this episode is one of the most pointless, time-wasting, and nonsensical things I've seen from a Power Rangers subplot. To put it simply, the stuff with the villains is great, the stuff with the Rangers is awful. I cannot wrap my head around why the show felt it necessary to add a filler plot to an episode that is essential to the overall story of the season. Not only does the subplot feel like it's completely out of place in the episode, but the tone shifts so hard whenever we get back to it that it pretty much kills any momentum that the episode tries to build. On top of that, the whole subplot makes absolutely no sense from a conceptual standpoint. Why is it so important that a food critic write a good review for a cafe that's attached to a museum? It's not like people go to a museum because they can make a really good burger, so what exactly are the stakes here? Really, the only reason this subplot exists is to fill time, because I guess watching two evil factions fight against each other in the Rangers Zords isn't enough plot to fill 20 minutes. And before you comment that the subplot was worth it just for the advice the food critic gives Chase, first of all, mixing up a recipe is not how cooking generally works, and secondly, aren't the Rangers smart enough to realize on their own that the best way to defeat an enemy who has studied how you fight is to use something they've never seen before? In my opinion, there are several ways the show could have gotten across this message without it feeling as pointless and barely connected to the actual plot as this does. However, I don't want to get too negative in this review. As I said before, there are some great stuff in this episode, and most of it has to do with the villains. Not only do we get the return of Singe in this episode, but we also get the introduction of Lord Arcanon, who's shown to be pretty powerful since he's able to take down Heckle. And it was really cool to see these two groups of villains go at it for a majority of the episode, especially when the new big bad takes control of the Rangers Megazords. I also really appreciated Heckle and Snide's struggle to remain free now that this warlord threatens to keep them as prisoners and slaves, and it was a little depressing to see Heckle chained up again at the end of the episode. This episode also left me curious as to where the story goes from here, since we now have a villain with the power of an Energem, and while I still think the Silver Ranger's evil, I am open to him just being captured by Arcanon, since as Keeper says, the Silver Energem would never bond to someone evil. Overall, I don't hate this episode, but it's incredibly disappointing. The show finally had an opportunity for this to be one of the greatest episodes I've ever seen, but because this subplot is so pointlessly bad, it turns this great episode into just a good episode. So while I do recommend it, make sure you're ready to skip through all the unnecessary bits. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go watch Green with Evil so I can get the taste of that terrible subplot out of my mouth. I'm Nick, aka IronBat1993, and may the power protect you.